to the Fortress of Comic News, episode 174. I am one of your hosts, Chris, alongside my co-hosts and co-friend, Mike.
Damn. Hit me right in the feels, you know? Wow. I wasn't prepared for that. I think they're gonna need a moment here or something. Whew. Thanks for that. Anyways.
I will remember you.
Okay, we don't need to put anyone through that. We have a special episode today. We're gonna stray a little bit from the norm with the guest that we have today. We have Paul Ross on the show. We're gonna talk about a documentary that he's creating about Dean Ormston. And if you don't know who Dean Ormston is, this little book called Black Hammer. I got the thing behind me. It's written by Jeff Lemire, optioned by Legendary Pictures, picked it up. And if you don't know what Black Hammer is, it's going to be all in your face pretty soon. But he's writing an amazing story, or filming an amazing documentary about the small town they grew up in and the challenges that Dean has overcome, and to go on to make amazing art and to create this awesome universe that it's a well-rounded story, and these characters are awesome, and his art really encompasses that golden age feel for sure. So stick around to hear that. Yeah. And with that, I don't know if we want to waste any more time. I think we just want to jump right into the news. What do you think?
Sure.
You got anything cool you want to tell me before that, or?
But not really. I mean, I read comics this week.
What about something came out Friday? I mean, season 2 of Umbrella Academy.
Yeah. I did finish that.
Oh, you finished it? Whoa.
Yes. I had a little bit
you know how casual it is now to just finish a show? Oh, yeah, I finished it. No big deal.
I had a little bit of free time this week.
That's all right. You know, free time's good. So What do you think? Overall, I mean, I haven't seen any of it yet. I'm probably going to start it tonight. But, like, overall...
Absolutely loved it. It did everything that the first season did well. Again, the soundtrack is fantastic. Even if you're not a fan of the music that's being played, the soundtrack just fits so well with everything going on. Putting it or setting it in the 60s and having that difference of locale and time really added some elements to it that created some great story things throughout it. I absolutely loved it. I thought it was fantastic. Every character shines in this season, and then we get to meet some new characters, obviously. And the ending sets up season 3 as one could expect.
Well, of course, we have a franchise now.
Yeah, and I'm excited for that now. I mean, I think Umbrella Academy is the weirdest story in my life of I'll never read this thing because I don't like My Chemical Romance, to I'll give it a shot, to this book is amazing, to now there's a TV show and the TV show is amazing, and it's weird for me personally to have such a flip on my feelings on this franchise, but
I don't want to like it. Oh, okay, it's really good though.
Yeah, you know, you grow up and you realize, like, oh shit, he can do 2 things, and one can be good and one can be not your cup of tea.
Cup of tea.
But awesome. Yeah, go watch Umbrella Academy. It's so good.
Yeah, I can't wait. I'll probably start it tonight, and it's gonna be one of those things where it's like just one more episode. It's like 3 a.m. and I don't know how I got there. You know,
that's what happened, because I started Friday and I watched a majority of it. Like, basically, I woke up, took a shower, got situated, sat down, watched like probably half of it, and then stopped, did things, then started again, and then it was like, this is late for me, so everybody laugh out loud, but it had to have been like 9:30, 10 o'clock, and I was like passing out. I'm like, oh, well, that's gotta be the last episode. Shit, there's another episode.
So did you just stay up and watch it, or what?
No, so I watched it the following morning. But
that's fine.
But yeah, it's great.
Yeah, I'm excited. I mean, those characters are great, and I did watch there's like a recap in the beginning, so I watched all that. That like were the characters. I thought that was fun. The characters kind of sat down break the fourth wall and like catch you up on everything. So
yeah, that was done really well. And the kid who plays number 5 is amazing.
Yeah,
like he's my favorite part of the whole show because he's obviously he's a kid, but he's like a 56-year-old man trapped in the kid's body, and he's such a dick.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He doesn't care. He's not nice to anyone. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
I saw someone throw out that he should play Damian Wayne.
Oh wow, yeah.
And I was like, it's a little tight casting, but that's perfect. Like that'd be amazing.
Yeah, now he's just got to be a jerk with a mask on.
Yeah.
I mean, you see him with the eye mask when they do like the roll call with all the kids like early on with the umbrella. Wow. Yeah, I guess I didn't put 2 and 2 together. That would be really cool.
Yeah, that's not me. Somebody brought that up.
Yeah,
to me.
That's a really good idea. Yeah, awesome. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it because I'm gonna check it out later tonight. This is pretty cool. Not a whole lot happens with the Green Hornet anymore. The last time I saw something going on, especially where Kevin Smith was involved, was the Green Hornet and the Batman 66 crossover, where Alex Ross is doing all those amazing covers, which I have the trade and it's awesome. But Green Hornet and Kato are getting their own animated series from Wild Brian Productions with help from Kevin Smith. It's a twist, though. The Green Hornet and Kato are the offspring of the originals, and the show is set in modern times. I think that's cool. Nothing wrong with that.
That's fine.
Yeah,
it's probably not meant for us.
Right. Yeah. I mean, Kevin Smith's involved. I'm going to check it out. I usually do when he's involved with stuff.
Yeah.
So.
It's an interesting concept, rather than just doing Green Hornet and Kato again. I mean, I'm down to check it out. I mean, I'm not big on Green Hornet and Kato, so you can do whatever you want with that, in my opinion. But
I mean, the thing is, like, they're not. They might want to reach a new fan base, and if they do this sort of like a buddy cop setup or something like that, I think there's some potential there.
Yeah.
And I think Kevin Smith understands the audience, especially his fans.
Yeah, and I think there was a quote I heard from Seth Rogen a while back when he was asked why he's doing so many, taking so many comic book properties and trying to adapt them.
Yeah.
And he had said, well, I want to do it because these are things I grew up reading and loving, and if I don't do it, it's not going to be done right.
Mm-hmm.
Your opinions of what he's done aside, but I feel like Kevin Smith is now taking that tact and being like, well, I'm going to do it because I'm going to do it right. And that's why we're seeing Masters of the Universe and now this, and I'm sure there's going to be more down the line that we're going to hear about.
Masters of the Universe. I'm so excited for that. So Netflix Sweet Tooth, we had talked about that being picked up, Jeff Lemire book. It's cast its lead character with a little part in a movie called X-Men: The Last Stand. It's from quite a few years ago, but Dania Ramirez will be playing the lead character. And what mutant was she?
Callisto.
Callisto, the speedster. Yeah. There's some scenes. There's a scene where she's beating the crap out of Halle Berry, which is fun. Halle Berry Storm. I was watching those clips and I'm like, wow, I forgot about those movies.
I literally, so this aside, like, it's fine. I still haven't read Sweet Tooth, so I don't know if she's good or not. But I literally was going through her IMDb, and I remembered her from Entourage, and I remember hating her in Entourage. And then I was like, she was never in an X-Men movie. And then you showed me those clips. I watched them. I was like, I don't remember this movie at all. The only thing I remember from that movie is that old Juggernaut YouTube video. That, by the way, does not hold up.
Okay. Good to know, because I won't watch it now.
But that's like the only thing I remember from is making those jokes about the Juggernaut. And I'm like, I kind of want to watch this movie again just to see, because I remember hating it. But
I mean, all I remember, because it's the Last Stand movie, I just remember there being a giant like barricade, and like the mutants are just like jumping over the barricade, fighting with other mutants, and it was like the Two Towers of the X-Men movies.
We're watching those clips, and like I don't remember her being in it. I don't remember like Spiky Face Dude at all. Like I didn't remember anything that was going on. I'm just like, it's been because I saw it in theaters and was just like, never again.
Do you remember they had those bullets that they shot the mutants with, and it like took their powers away?
No, I don't remember any of that.
I thought they're, it's fascinating to me, and I'm pretty sure that was like a device they made where they're like trank darts, but I think they hit you and they got rid of the mutant gene or whatever.
Okay.
But wouldn't just a regular gun work too? Like, why do they have to develop an anti? They could just shoot a mutant and kill them. Like, you could use a real bullet too. I'm just saying. But yeah.
Or you could use an adamantium bullet and erase Wolverine's memory. That was dumb, by the way.
Dumb, real dumb. Anyways, the whole X-Men universe is all screwed up, and I don't know if they'll ever get fixed. I mean, there's some good stuff there. I mean, don't get me wrong; the new series, Days of Future Past, I thought was pretty cool.
So the first X-Men movie that came out was good because of what it was trying to do and when it was trying to do it. Like going back in it now, I'm sure I wouldn't enjoy it as much.
1 and 2 weren't bad.
First Class is awesome. Like I love that movie. I don't care what anyone says.
Yep.
And the other ones are just like, hey, let's combine continuity, and it just got confusing.
Apocalypse. We don't talk about Apocalypse, but like Days of Future Past was good. Apocalypse was just like.
Still haven't watched Dark Phoenix.
Oh my god, I forgot that even came out. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm interested to see what the MCU has in store for these X-Men.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Take these characters, make good stuff with them. But let's jump to this awesome interview that we have with Paul Ross, and we will see everyone on the other side.
Welcome back, everybody. Today we have a different kind of very special guest, a documentarian who is making a documentary currently about someone in our industry. So welcome to the show, Paul Ross. Welcome to the show, Paul.
Hi, how you doing?
Good. It's always fun to chat with someone across the water. It's a little bit of a time difference, but I'm glad we can meet up and discuss what you're doing. So before we talk about your project, we got to talk about you a little bit. You've done quite a bit of stuff, and obviously you share a passion or love for comics like we do. So let's hear your origin story of what brought you to this point of, okay, I want to make this documentary about such a great artist within the industry.
Okay, so I mean, I've always liked comics anyway.
Yep.
I remember being a 9-year-old going to pick up my weekly copy of 2000 AD in the late 70s, as it was, and that used to be my passion. I mean, I used to like quite a lot of British comics as well, which aren't the Marvel DC kind of thing. Yep. They're more typically English. I mean, one of my favorite artists was a guy called Leo Baxendale, who used to do Beano comics. So I've been into that from an early age. But in terms of how I came to want to make the documentary about Dean, it's that I wanted to make a documentary, and it just so happened that I grew up in the same village as Dean Ormston, a little place called Royston in South Yorkshire in the UK. Okay. And so, I mean, we've kind of like grown up in the same town, and the emphasis is that we've kind of like grown up in our separate different careers, but the way that I want to kind of like ground the documentary is to talk about that origin, talk about the fact that we came from a very poor mining town is what it is. And that Dean has kind of grown into this international comic superstar from those very early origins. So I want to tell the story of, how that developed. I don't know whether you're aware of Dean's brain injury. He had
No, we can talk about that too.
All right, cool. Yeah. I mean, basically, the whole documentary is steeped in the fact that he came from this very small town, became a great comic artist, but also has had to overcome some pretty disastrous kind of things in his life, and come back and deliver something as fantastic as Black Hammer. throughout all of this. So I mean, he could have kind of like at some point he could have just stopped and gone, right, that's enough for me. I'm going to have the easy life now. But he's a stubborn character. You won't let anything like a brain injury stop him from doing anything that he actually wants to do. Especially
something like, being an artist.
Where Indeed, yeah,
it's so intricate. And to come out of that, making Black Hammer and how so much of a staple that's been within the industry of like, this is, you read Black Hammer, you're like, this is golden age comics at its finest. I mean, the art, the writing, it all comes together from Jeff Lemire as well, but it's definitely like it hit and we're like, wow, this is something. I mean, this is really good.
Absolutely. I mean, the thing that's going on with the comic book industry at the moment is pretty severe, really, with the accusations of racism and sexism, and to find a comic book that actually is, intrinsically the central character is black. As it goes on, I don't want to spoil it for anybody that hasn't read it, but also female. There are, LGBT kind of themes throughout the book, so it's kind of a really it's really grounded in now, and it addresses an awful lot of stuff that people accuse the comic book industry of putting to one side. With Black Hammer, it puts them all out on show and kind of goes, look, we're about now and we are addressing those kind of issues. So I think that's one of the real strengths of the Black Hammer comic book series as well.
Yeah, for sure.
So is Dean a part of this documentary? Like, are you friends with him? Have you talked with him? Or...
Yeah, like I say, I mean, we grew up in the same town, and we bumped up into each other, throughout the years. Dean is about 4 or 5 years older than I am, so whilst we went into the same school together, I didn't hang around in those circles until actually we got out of school. One of the other things that many of your listeners probably don't know about Dean is he's also a drummer in a band called the Black Lamps.
Okay.
I'm just trying to think whether I've actually got that right. Yeah, it is the Black Lamps. Basically, when we were out of school is when I started to hang around, because I used to go and with my own friends to go and see the bands that he was in. And so we kind of like had a friendship that grew from that. In terms of, how we evolved that friendship, I mean, we've kind of just, been in the same town basically and known about each other. That's pretty much our friendship as a matter of course, really.
So the documentary as a whole, you start off from early age to where we are now with his career, or you focus on your town as well? What can we expect out of that?
So essentially that's what I'd like to try and make work within this. I want it to be about the actual town itself, because again, for an American audience, this probably won't make a lot of sense, really. But Barnsley is a very poor mining town, and yet it has managed to create from the people that live there a number of different celebrities and important people. One of them, possibly you might recognize the name from interviews within the 70s. A guy called Michael Parkinson is probably our most famous citizen. He used to do interviews with Hollywood stars and Muhammad Ali. He's done a whole lot of that. But there are a number of different people who have gone on to really successful careers from a town that really shouldn't boast that kind of celebrity. So I want to basically try and capture that. I also want to capture the time that we grew up, because this was early 80s. Punk had been and gone. This was kind of like a time when Gothic music started to come to the fore. And so I want to try and explore that element of youth what it felt like to be, in that place at that time period, and kind of, tell the story in a sequential kind of way. So right from school days, right through the days when Dean was in bands, and what that meant for the locality, and also his journey into comic books, because I mean it's been quite an elongated journey for him, but I suppose a route that quite a lot of comic book artists take. And then I also want to, like I said, explore the event that basically could have just taken his entire, for one, taken his entire life away, but also his entire creativity away. I mean, it could have stopped him in his tracks.
Right.
And so I wanted to basically cover all of that ground in one go, really.
Yeah, that's something really interesting too. It's funny because I was going to reference, how he started with some Judge Dredd stuff in the 90s, and I'm thinking, oh, that's pretty recent, but now it's almost 30 years ago.
Yes.
What do you think about it now?
That's really scary.
Yeah, I know. I was like, oh wow, I guess my math is right. Okay, but yeah, it seems like, well, I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but the viewers or someone watching this documentary can see the just the struggles of growing up in a small town like that, or just not having the connections that people usually have, or just that openness to like being in a big city. But also he came over the hurdles of this injury as well. But it seems like something to give people hope, or maybe like, okay, maybe if I have a dream and it's not too far off, if I'm passionate about something, to really create, just be an artist,
I think you've hit the nail on the head here. I mean, just the last 6 months or so should have taught pretty much everybody that the traditional idea of how you get through life is to go get a job, then get a mortgage, and then get a house, and then have some kids, and that's basically the way that everybody sees the way that that life should be. And the last 6 months has taught us that no one is safe from from losing their job, losing their livelihood, losing everything,
right?
In one go.
Yep.
And so I think it should really serve to also instruct that you don't have to take the traditional path. You don't have to be going to try and be a bank manager, because in the end that job will disappear and nobody will care
right.
about your future, really.
Right.
And so it's to take the dream, to take the things that you want to do, and to go for it. And the beauty is that even if you don't succeed, at least you'll have your integrity. At least you'll have you'll have tried it. And if it fails, at least that you've given it a go. Whereas it's the worst thing is to be in your 80s. Well, I'm not in my 80s, so I wouldn't know. But the worst thing I could imagine is you being in your 80s and going, God, I wish I'd done that. I wish I'd had a go at that.
Right.
And so hopefully it will serve to that. I want to make it entertaining as well. I want to make it as interesting a story as I can, but also not just about the comic books, also the human story as well, I think.
Yeah, really good. So let's talk about the Kickstarter. I mean, you have quite a bit of time left here. 29 days to go, and already 136 backers. You're fairly close to the goal.
Yes.
So that goal that you set, I mean, it looks like you're going to go above that. Is there more stuff you can do with the documentary if you get more funds coming in, or?
So I mean, primarily, what I want to do is the thing with filmmaking is generally the accepted route is you plot out your story. You basically hire your equipment on the day that you're supposed to be using it, or on the weekend you're supposed to be using it, and then you take the stuff back. And with this, what I want to do is, again, it's partly because of the COVID thing. is I want to kind of be ready at any given point in time. So the initial Kickstarter is to kind of like, purchase equipment, not my time. I mean, everything that I'm doing here is out of my own pocket, really. But I need to kind of like make sure that I have good equipment so that I can pick up and run whenever I need to. So that's the main reason for the Kickstarter, to basically secure that. If I get more than that, then I mean, essentially, it will allow me to make a more of a quality production of it, because I mean, the thing is with sound and lighting, if you're doing documentaries with just one person, it tends to be there's an awful lot of setup. So help along the way would be where the rest of the money would go. But I mean, it's a very small budget for a documentary, but I think it's one that's certainly achievable on the target that we've set. And were I to get more, I'd be over the moon.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So I'm looking at the Kickstarter right now. I mean, you've got everything from just early access to be able to get the documentary digitally. You've got signed postcards and prints from Dean, and copies of the documentary itself. A lot of these state like May or June 2020. Are you confident that that's going to be when you're going to be able to get it into people's hands?
I'm very confident about that. Yeah, I mean, in terms of the shooting, because it's mainly concentrated in one place, I can do a lot of the B-roll stuff in the town of Barnsley. Many of the interviews that I'm going to be conducting are with people who've grown up there and followed Dean in his exploits. The only things that may spoil the whole thing are the interviews with comic book people. But there are plenty of them who have done exactly what Dean has done, which is they're international comic book artists, but they live pretty much in the place that they grew up. It's another element of the story, which is, I mean, Dean could probably have gone off to California, and gone and lived in the sun somewhere, but he chose to live in the town that he grew up in, and stay there. And so for a lot of the comic book artists, that are currently from the UK, they tend to be about, and also they tend to be northern. So a lot of the interviews I'm hoping to get done, fairly locally. So, yeah, I think it's entirely achievable. I'm trying to get most of the footage in the can by December, January, and that leaves me a good 3 months or so for editing and post production. I think one of the things that people are going to be most interested about the Kickstarter, I mean, obviously, I'd love them to be mostly interested in me and the fact that I'm creating this fantastic documentary. But I mean, in terms of why should people give, I mean, that's one reason. But I mean, probably the most attractive reward for them is the Dean Umston print at 45 quid. That I mean, I've been on eBay today just looking for what kind of prints go for, and they generally go for $120, $140, for any kind of print. So especially a signed print by the artist himself, limited edition to I think I'm going to try and get that down to 150 copies. Is a bargain as far as anybody's listening to the podcast could think.
And 45 quid for the U.S. listeners is about just under $60. So that is a bargain for $60 US. So that's probably the reward I'm going to take. I'd like one of those on my wall. I think that'd be pretty cool.
Well, I mean, the other thing is, I mean, I don't know very much about it because I'm not concentrating my efforts on how things are going with Dean and Jeff. But I mean, they're the Black Hammer series has been picked up by Legendary, who are going to be making a TV series out of it. So that is going to be spectacular, and I think possibly people that didn't know Dean before this are certainly going to be raving about him once the Legendary thing comes out. So
for sure. Yep.
It's all for the good, I think.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like a perfect time to jump in and support a project like this.
Indeed.
Yeah. So obviously the Kickstarter is at working class superhero Dean Ormston. And where can we send people if they want to follow you? Do you have a Twitter you could send them to updates and stuff like that?
So yeah, the Kickstarter is basically going to be the main place where I do the funding updates. My account on Twitter is PauliWally1, and I also have a website which is www.spootlepog.com. I know it's a strange name, isn't it?
We got to hear that. What's the story behind that?
Okay, so it used to be my pet name for my dog who died about 15 years ago. But I used to call him this. His proper name was Spot, but I used to kind of elongate it and make it into a fun name. And it wasn't until I started kind of like messing about with websites and the internet and stuff like that. That I realized that actually that name, that word, doesn't appear anywhere in the universe. It's a unique word, and so therefore I realized that if anybody types that into a search engine, it's going to bring them to me and nobody else.
Awesome.
And so that's the reason why I thought I could have a pretty unique kind of thing. The only tiny problem is that you have to know that you have to type in Spootlepog before you get to me, because otherwise the idea would never occur to you.
Yeah, exactly. But no, I'll remember it now. That's very interesting. Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, well, so everybody go check out Paul at PauliWally. What was it, PauliWally1?
That's it. Yeah. Weirdly enough, PauliWally was already taken. I don't know why.
What the hell?
And just so everybody knows, that's PauliWally spelled Paul with a Y, and then Wally is the same as Paul, just with a W.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, So Paul, thanks so much for being on the show. I can't wait to see this documentary. It got me really excited for an artist we've been raving about ever since Black Hammer first came out. So
for sure. So
well, I hope to make the best documentary I possibly can for you.
That sounds awesome. I can't wait. So thanks again for being on the show, and I can't wait to talk to you when it comes out.
We'll make it a date.
Awesome.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Welcome to the other side.
Hey, we're on the other side, finally. So please support the project. There's some really cool rewards. I know Chris and I are already, in between time and space. We've muddled things around. We use the Speed Force to donate while we were recording. So figure that one out. Bending space and time. But also bending space and time, as they usually do, are comic books. So let's talk about the comic book news.
Comics.
So Marvel's launching a new comic series on its social media channels. This is kind of interesting. It'll eventually be repurposed as variant covers. The series is called Heroes at Home and is written by Zeb Wells and the art by Gurihiru. As the title implies, this will be a series of shorts that show Marvel heroes at home doing household activities. Okay. I just want you to know that I had this idea. I don't know if I ever pitched it to you. I know I pitched it to my cousin, who was an artist. This was like a couple years ago. I had this idea for DC Comics heroes doing average things, like when Batman goes out all night, he packs like a sandwich in his utility belt, or like stops at a burger stand because he's got to eat, right?
Yeah.
Or like Flash, he goes to the DMV and he's got to wait in line for hours because the fastest man in the world still has to wait in line at the DMV. Like, I had all these ideas. Damn it, Marvel. It's awesome. I think it's a cool idea, and it's free. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I remember you pitching that idea to me.
Yeah.
So,
anyways, sorry.
Yeah, this is funny because this is obviously COVID inspired. So it's like Spider-Man at home vacuuming, and
I think that's funny. Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
So I think it's cool, and it's like a nice little shout out to people, and kind of just stick in there because even the Marvel heroes have to avoid COVID.
Yeah,
I'm all for this. I think it's cool.
I think that's really cool, and it's going to be variant covers too. Maybe like at home heroes variant covers. The fact that they're like profiting off this kind of sucks, but also I might have to pick up a couple of those.
Of course they're going to profit off it. I was kind of hoping they were going to say there's going to be like a one shot with all of them in it.
Yep.
Because they did that with was it Itty Bitty Hulk or something?
Oh yeah.
Or they did like backup stories with that. There were one page, and eventually they published it as one giant thing. So, but that's either way, I think it's a cool idea.
Yeah. After accusations of sexual harassment against Spider-Gwen and Southern Bastards co-creator Jason Latour, Marvel has said they have no future plans to work with the comic creator moving forward. No patience for this stuff anymore, people. Just don't be an asshole.
Yeah.
And a subcategory of the first bullet point of not being an asshole, don't sexually harass people.
Yeah, and this one was like a step above. I know I can't remember if me and you have, but I know I've had conversations about like the levels of what this all is. Like there's what Warren Ellis did, which is still creepy and wrong, but it's not quite sexual harassment, which isn't quite rape, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So what he did was so wrong, and it sucks because I love Jason Latour's work.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if Southern Bastards is such a great book. He's done so much good stuff at Marvel.
It is a great book.
I'm disappointed that he did it, but I don't think I could ever see supporting him again because what he did was very horrendous.
Yeah. Just don't do that. Don't be an asshole.
Dick.
Because now I'm not going to support you, and it sucks because Southern Bastards is such a great book. Spider-Gwen, I could do without that, but
that's fine. Spider-Gwen sucks.
Yeah, but anyways, it really sucks that we have to remind people. This happens almost every week. It's like someone new just has to be an asshole, and
and
come on, you're not learning.
The only thing about this one is I like that there was actually a consequence for this, and not like I'm going to go away for a little bit and come back later.
Yeah,
like this is Marvel saying. We're not dealing with this person anymore.
Yeah. Like, DC's like, we'll take him. No, I'm just kidding. That's not
it's funny because the next story, I won't go too much into it, but it's funny that the thing with the Warren Ellis came out, and like we said, there's different varieties of this, but they, for one part, said, "Hey, we're going to cancel his dinosaur story for Legends of the Dark Knight, but we'll keep publishing Batman's Grave."
It's a
little weird.
Yeah, it is weird. And getting to that, Brian Hitch took to Twitter to announce that after he finishes his current series, Batman's Grave with Warren Ellis, he'll be working on an unannounced 48-page one-shot set in the Dark Knight's death metal universe. So obviously he's probably taking over for Warren Ellis in the death metal universe, maybe doing the Bat T-Rex or something. But it's weird that they're just going to finish up Batman's Grave. I don't know if they just feel like they have most of it finished already and have to, or
so I've been having this conversation a lot because, like, with Dynamite's thing last week, somebody brought up what Garth Ennis, like, why he hasn't spoken out about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was, trying to do the timeline. I was like, well, maybe he's finished with the Dear Becky, and now he's just like, it's done, and I'm out. Like, so I'm wondering if maybe Warren's stuff on Batman's Grave is done, and he's been paid for, but Brian Hitch isn't, and and obviously he isn't because of this announcement. But and to cancel the book now would just screw Brian Hitch.
Yeah, that's
what I mean.
Yeah.
So I think that might be the case. I'm hoping that's the case because that would mean like, hey, let's support Hitch because he does good work and he's not to blame for this incident.
Right.
But as far as the 48-page one-shot, it's like, what is it? And when's it going to come out? Because what are we on? Did we just read issue 2 or 3?
Yeah, issue 2. Issue 2 came out, yep.
So we got a few months, but I'll be curious to see what it is. It would be funny if they just gave him the like dinosaur. You said, the dinosaur Batman, and said, make a 48-page out of it.
Yeah. And it's just art. There's no writing. That would be great. Yeah, so we had a little speculation last week. It looks like after all the social media teases from Tom Taylor, and this is good news. Finally, we get to some good news. He knows that what his new Injustice project is. It's leaked by comicbook.com. It looks like DC will release, as part of its digital-first brand, Injustice Year Zero. They haven't given an official synopsis, but we saw images from the series that show Batman fighting the JSA and other hints of Golden Age heroes. Yes. What can make the Injustice universe even better? Bring in the JSA and take all my friggin' money. Damn it.
Yeah. First of all, awesome. That's more JSA. I mean, that's what DC needs, more JSA.
Oh, yeah, all the time.
Second, did you follow this whole train when it happened?
No, I didn't. No, I didn't catch wind of it.
So, yeah, comicbook.com put up a whole article about this and saying that today it's going to be released and that there's going to be 3 issues released in a bundle for like $2.50, and then they're going to come out every other week after that for $1, I think it was. And then it got pulled like pretty quickly. And I spent the rest of the day like trying to dig and figure out because not only did I want the story, but I wanted the book.
Right. Yeah.
The next day, someone turned out and said that this was actually supposed to be announced Tuesday, and somebody hit a button too quick. So this was never supposed to be published, and it looks like Tuesday we're getting this book. Wow. And if you go on Tom Taylor's social media, he's still promoting, he's still like teasing it as if we don't know what's going on.
He's like, I've made all these teaser posts, damn it, I'm still going to do it.
Yeah, that's awesome. One he released this week was Amazing Man, which is a character I never knew existed.
Wow, I've never even heard of that guy. Who the hell is that?
He's a character, I looked him up. His character was created in the 80s, but he was retroactively fitted into the Golden Age characters. And the image they showed was basically a version of Captain America #1 of Amazing Man punching Hitler in the face.
Oh my god.
So that's why a lot of people were like trying to figure out, is this going to be set in the 40s? Is this going, like, what is this going to be?
Right.
But I don't care. JSA, let's do it.
Punching Nazis. Yeah. I mean, Tom Taylor's doing such a great job. I'm going to talk about Suicide Squad a little bit later, but man, and the little stories he's doing for DC. So yeah, let this guy run with this awesome property. It makes me want to read through all of Injustice again. You know, such a good storyline.
4-issue miniseries that could.
Yep, it really is. Not everyone though. DC, please take note. You know, like Frankenstein and the Agents of Shade. That should have never even left the printing machines, if you ask me. But anyways. We won't talk about that. We'll talk about another announcement from DC. It was announced earlier in the week. The current Batman writer, James...
From DC.
Oh, not from DC, sorry. But anyways, the current writer at DC for Batman, James Tynion IV, and comic creator / editor Steve Fox are joining forces to create Razor Blades, the horror magazine. Okay, so this isn't from DC. It's a digital-only, pay-what-you-want anthology magazine. That's really cool. It's going to feature comics, prose stories, illustrations from creators across the industry. You can get the first issue at readrazorblades.com right now. Free. Readrazorblades.com. Right now. Check it out. Yeah. I'm going to check it out tonight. I didn't even know about this. This is awesome.
Yeah. It's using that pay-what-you-want model that Brian K. Vaughan used for his comics thing.
Yep. Very cool.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's like 80 pages of comics and prose, and Tynion's doing the story, and there's like a list of other ones that are going to have stories moving forward.
Awesome.
I think it's a cool thing to do.
Yeah. It's really cool. I think that's awesome. More of that, less everything else. And with that, you want to talk about some comics that we read this week?
Let's do it.
You start off, read a couple of yours. I gotta grab my phone quick because it was charging. That's where all my notes are. So start off with the one that you thought was a goodie, and it takes me 30 seconds.
Well, I'll start with X Factor #1. This was one that I was looking forward to because it revolved around the Resurrection Center in the X-Men universe. And what this ends up being is we have a character whose sister passes away, and he wants to get her resurrected, but he can't because he needs proof of death because they don't want multiples of people running around. So he goes back, investigates it, finds her body, sends the proof, and gets her resurrected. But the real story here is that forms a team that is now the X Factor that is going to go around and investigate mutant deaths and missing mutants for the resurrection unit and give them the proof of death that they need to be able to resurrect people's loved ones and so on and so forth. So it's a cool little side story inside the X universe that I thought was something that could be really cool. And this was very much a quick one-shot story. This was the investigation. This is what we're going to do. Let's form a team and move on. But I'll continue reading it. I think it was really well done. And the cast of characters, although I only really recognize one, which is Dakin, was still interesting enough. They had a cool little back and forth, and I enjoyed it. So if you're reading X-Men and you want something more that revolves around that the Resurrection Center, this is the book to check out.
Cool.
Do you want me to keep going?
Did you read DCeased, Hope at World's End? Hope at World's End #6?
Yes.
It's a pretty solid issue. We have Aerie leaving Jotunheim. Aerie is one of the the C-list heroes that's hanging out at Jotunheim, and basically they want Aerie to fly to Themyscira to save the people because Black Adam is coming for Jotunheim with an army of zombies, and he's a zombie himself. And at the last moment, there's a really cool scene where Black Adam is, showing up at the mountain of Jotunheim, like the mountain base, and gets blinked or teleported into the mountain by one of the heroes. Mm-hmm. And they're like, "Oh, will that hold him?" I don't know. Well, it doesn't hold him. He breaks out and just as he breaks out, he's greeted by Wonder Woman. So there's going to be a pretty epic battle next issue between Wonder Woman and zombie Black Adam.
Yeah, so obviously this is gonna be the story of how Wonder Woman dies because we never got it in the original DCeased. She just kind of came back dead one day.
Yeah. So that'll be pretty interesting to see. I took a lot of notes here on DC Cybernetic Summer #1. I was actually super pumped for this book. Mm-hmm. Did you read it?
I didn't.
Okay, so I'm just gonna run through all the stories. And I'm going to get to I'm going to run through a description, but there's some that I liked more than others. There's actually a lot of content for this 80-pager, and I think everybody should check it out. It's so much fun. So the first story, Karina Becco and Gabriel, I can't remember his last name, but it's a Batman story where he's fighting Brother Eye. And it's amazing because there's so many I puns of like I know and it's all spelled out EYE. So I love that shit. I don't know. It's like like he's trying to be like evil and menacing as a robot, but he's just making I puns. And basically like he's fighting him in space. And this is a really good small story. He gets a Batman mech suit, and there's some type of summer vacation involved with all these little short stories, and like Alfred is chilling on a beach with his lady friend, and he's trying to like call for Alfred and he like took vacation. He's like trying to call Alfred for help, and Alfred gets him out of the situation eventually. But it's just a really good story. Andrew Constant, Nicholas Scott write a Metal Men story, and this Metal Men story, I mean, actually a lot of these stories are really good. The Metalman story, it shows Platinum. She's hanging out on the beach trying to catch some rays. And then and the rest of the Metalmen come out of the ocean like shaped into a giant kaiju beast. And it turned into a kaiju. Wonder Woman shows up to help fight with Platinum. And it's funny because they're like, wow, that reminds me of this anime that we both watched. So apparently Wonder Woman watches anime, but there's this like kaiju show within the DC universe. Come to find out, it was Toyman who created this frequency or something to mess with the Metal Men and make them morph into this kaiju, because he watched that anime show too and wanted to like see if he can make it happen. So there's like this fight on the beach with the kaiju. It's really cool. It was really fun. I these stories are just so wacky and it's awesome. The Red Tornado story. Shout out to Stephanie Phillips. Represent. Yeah.
Nice.
Stephanie Phillips had a. I mean, we talked about this. She was part of this great story with her and Leila Del Duca is the name. Sorry, my mic is going crazy. But it's a very touching family story with Red Tornado's wife and daughter, and they're trying to be out camping, and Red Tornado's like keeps getting calls from the Justice League. I got to go save someone. I got to go save someone. His daughter stumbles upon this alien that's like hiding in a cave, and the way it communicates is it has to like grab you and like communicate telepathically. So there's like a misunderstanding. He thinks she's being hurt. They end up saving this alien to get the alien back home. It was trying to send a signal to its family out in space, and then it's a really touching story. It resolves where he shuts off his communicator and they're just sitting there fishing and having a good time camping. Great story. I love that Stephanie Phillips like got to write these two characters. Remember the first story she did with Ted Grant?
Yes.
And now she did Red Tornado. These are like characters that I would love to have more of in the DC universe, and I'm so happy that she got to write these characters. I thought it was awesome.
Well, I love these anthology books. I mean, I know once in a while they bring in one of the big guns, but they're really meant for new up-and-coming writers to kind of get their chance.
Yeah, right.
And it sounds, because I didn't read either of her these anthology books, because I don't know, I'm just not a big fan of them, but it seems like both of them turned out really well for her, so I'm hoping that more people are seeing that, because yeah, she is a great writer. I mean, it's not just that she's local and we love her for that. It's that she is a good writer and her books are good. So hopefully this leads to something bigger for her at DC.
This is a story that I absolutely did not like. Just kidding. It's a Blue Beetle and Booster Gold story with Heath Corden and Scott Koblish. You would love this story. It's basically Booster Gold says and Blue Beetle are heading to the beach as beach bros. They're going to go celebrate their day off. Well, the beach is packed. So what do? They use Booster Gold. They use Skeets to go back in time to when the last time they were at the beach when it wasn't packed. And the whole issue is a future version of themselves traveling back in time to the beach to the point that there's like more and more Booster Gold and Blue Beetle showing up to where like they get to the point where they're like super from the future, like Bill and Ted style, like the oracles of like, oh, far out, man, and they're wearing like crazy outfits. So they're playing volleyball with each other and stuff. It's hilarious. So then King Shark shows up. He just washes up on the beach with like treasure, and they're like, "What are you doing here, man?" So they like beat the shit out of him. And not only do they beat the shit out of him, every one of the teams of Booster Gold and Blue Beetle pose for pictures of it with him, like while he's like beat up and on the beach. Mm-hmm. And they send him a summer calendar of King Shark is all pissed off at the end of the issue because they sent him a summer calendar of like all the different Booster Golds and Blue Beetles posing with him for each different month. And he's like gonna take his revenge. Such a great story. And to touch on the thing of like big names writers, so here's a big. I mean, you got Josh Williamson and David LaFuente on the Flash story, and this Flash story is okay, but it's a Flash race story against Mercury, and it's all these flashes across the multiverse, and it's too much. It's too much. What? It's a summer anthology book. We don't need multiverse racing. I mean, yeah, if you're a Flash fan, it's fun, but like the more fun to me is Red Tornado on a camping trip. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
you got to.
It's also just. It's one of those like, yeah, of course, that's what the Flash story is, you know?
Yeah, right. I know. Like, why couldn't he be on the beach? You know, I don't know. But, anyways, there's a Superboy and Legion of Superheroes with Liz Erickson and Nick Barella. It's Superboy has to go away, so he activates. And it's funny because it says a golden age tale, so it's really cool. Superboy turns on one of the robot Superboys, and he ends up going on it. The robot Superboy goes on a date with one of the nerdier girls at the high school. And it's really like kind of messed up because he comes back from his mission and the girl's like so smitten about the real Superboy that he doesn't remember the date or anything like that. It's like he was off world like fighting an alien and stuff like that. So it was a really good story. Steve Orlando and Paul Pelletier did an Apollo and Midnighter story. Really good. It was just them teaming up and their relationship, and it's just really cool. There's a Harley story with Che Grayson and Margaret Savage. The Harley story was okay. She takes some old villain to the carnival with her, and it was okay. The last two are really good. Robot Man by Max Bemis, the lead singer of I can't think of him right now. Greg Smallwood, and it's awesome. It's Robot Man has a friend or a roommate that's a human, and he's Robot Man. So basically, he hangs out with his human friend and doesn't have any fun because he's a robot. And then Robot Man gets picked up by his robot friends like Cyborg and everybody, and has a lot of fun. And his roommate tags along with him and doesn't enjoy the robot thing. So then they have this like understanding of each other by the end of the issue, and they're like, well, what can we enjoy together? So they go to the comic book shop.
That's fantastic.
And Max Bemis kind of ends the book with a summer without comics ain't a summer at all, is what he says. And I'm like, man, what a great story. Like, comics bringing people together. Man, Max Bemis can write a book, dude. Awesome. And then the final one was a Cyborg story with Stuart Moore and Cully Hamner. Super self-aware of the ridiculousness of the multiverse. There's a guy named Super Cyborg Superman shows up at the beach. So basically, Superman and Cyborg are fighting Cyborg Superman on the beach, Hank Henshaw, and this round robot-looking thing shows up, and his name's Super Cyborg Superman. He's like, I'm from the multiverse planet 2.51 prime, and all this ridiculous shit. And come to find out, they were just there to distract that whole plot of this weird super cyborg showing up was there to distract Hank Henshaw and then beat the crap out of him because it was Batman in the suit the whole time. And it's funny because if you abbreviate Super Cyborg Superman, his name is Sucks. SUCCS, and it's such a great story. And he carries like his own wiki page with him to like explain himself. And so it was Batman the whole time. The story ends with like these villains betting on Earths. Like there's like the monitor and everyone's sitting around a table and they have Earths in their hands and they're like playing poker. Like that's how they treat the multiverse. It's like so ridiculous. And the Earth that they show is like an ridiculous Earth number, and then it's like cosine blah blah blah, like a math problem. And it's just a funny joke about like the multiverse and how ridiculous it is and how these people are just throwing around planets like crises and stuff like that. Such a great anthology. I think everyone should read it. Batman Adventures Continue. Paul Dini, number 9.
Yep.
What about Straight Man though, huh? That was a little weird. I don't know if that was like making fun of like straight white males, but there's a villain that works for the Joker and his name is Straight Man, and he's like a Johnny Bravo character.
Yeah, I can't remember if that was a actual thing like later on, because if you look at the Batman the Animated Series universe, there's a timeline there, and I think the only one that doesn't fit in is during the 90s is the Batman.
Mm-hmm.
But so like it goes through to New Adventures of Batman and Robin and Justice League and all this other stuff. So I don't remember Straight Man and all that, but
I looked him up. I don't think he exists anywhere. So I think they created him. I'm pretty sure they created him for this issue because I thought I would remember someone like that. Either way, he's like, it's just weird. He's like carrying around a barbell and like you're lifting it and stuff like that. So Chris and I are right. It was Jason Todd who's been like following Batman around in the darkness. So then we get the origin of the Red Hood and how Batman took him under his wing and why they had a falling out. And that's pretty much how that issue wraps up. I think it's pretty good. We get the reveal of who it was. I mean, it's been a great series so far.
Yeah, I like the twist they did on
the Red Hood story.
Yeah, the Red Hood story, and kind of made it its own into the Batman universe. So
yep.
I really enjoyed this issue, and we're gonna get kind of a idea of what happened to Jason, in this universe as well, and why he just kind of disappeared. So
yep. Batman Superman number 11, Joshua Williamson. Great story. There's a whole falling out of Gotham with Batman, Superman, and why Atomic Man decided to blow up part of the city and take all these casualties. So we see the repercussions of that from the last issue, but also we get an awesome villain. Like these are the type of villains I want in my books. Ultra Humanite. When was the last time you've seen Ultra Humanite? You know? So a super souped up monkey that's super powerful and very smart, and he was the one behind making all these people into bombs. He sets up a trap where he's been harvesting parts throughout Gotham. Like they have one scrapyard that everybody sends their parts to apparently, and that's where he's been making these bombs and weapons. But at the end of the issue, he captures Batman, and Batman has like the atomic sequence, like he's going to blow up. So I'm curious to see how that's going to pan out for Batman.
Yeah, my favorite part of this whole issue was when like Superman's getting kind of weirded out about breaking and entering.
Yeah,
and Batman just kind of looks at him like, "Don't worry about it. Like I own the place."
He's like, "Of course."
Superman's response is like, "Of course you do.
Of course you do." He's like, "It's not like me to break and enter." He's like, "Well, I own the place."
I think Joshua Williamson has a really great back and forth between his Batman and Superman. I love it.
Yeah, this is stuff you don't get in normal Batman books or Superman books, so it's really cool.
The art reminded me though of like Invincible. Like early Invincible.
Yeah, it really did. Yeah, you're right.
It was weird, but I still really loved it. It was a great issue.
Legion of Superheroes number 7. Yeah, this is a great issue. I like what Bendis is doing with the Legion of Superheroes. The Legion goes and they talk to the Madam President. She's the head of the United Planets, and they try to explain their role. Like they were made as like a check and balance, or they want to be a group within kind of like outside of authority and want to be able to make decisions on their own. The discussion doesn't go so well. Superboy has to kind of chime in and help out. And what they realize, they need an absolute leader. Like, Brainiac 5 has been their leader just because he can like calculate decisions within his brain, multiple decisions. But they vote for a new character, or not character, but leader. And in between this voting, there's a little interaction, and I almost like brush it off, but Superboy's sitting next to a character named Mon, M-O-N, as in Mon-El, and it looks just like him, and is young like him, and he says Mon, he goes, "Who's that guy?" And he goes, "Don't worry about it," or something like that, and they never really explain it again. So I'm wondering who that character is.
Oh, see, I just assumed it was Mon-El.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just like, But the interaction of like, who are you and why is your name? Like, there's got to be more there, right? Because
those two characters haven't been introduced in the story, so
right.
I'm pretty sure it is going to be Mon-El, but maybe that was kind of a hint of like, this story will come later.
Okay, maybe that's
how these two are going to interact.
Yeah, that was just cool. They choose a new leader. After doing so, the father of the new leader shows up with members of the United Planets to arrest the Legion of Superheroes, and then it teases at the end of the issue that the next book is going to have 41 artists on it. Which,
so
I don't know what's going to happen there.
I've been seeing these teases for it. It's going to be a 2-issue story arc with 41 artists.
Wow.
Across 2 books. So, it's it'll be interesting. I'll say that.
I'm wondering if it's like a roll call of all the Legion. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm kind of confused on why this. I mean, I understand some of it. Like, Sook is known for being late on his art.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew at some point we were going to get some sort of fill-in. But this is kind of weird for
Yeah, right. This is Well, let's try out 41 artists. Maybe this is a way for them to try it out, and if he needs a replacement while he's gone, I don't see which one sticks.
I don't know. I mean,
it's hard to replace his art, man. His art is so good for this book.
Yeah. So it's interesting. Yeah, we'll see how those two issues work out. But I like this issue, and I'm really loving Legion of Superheroes.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of political discussions for sure. It's really heavy talks going on, but there's a lot of fun stuff in there too.
Yeah.
Suicide Squad number 7, Tom Taylor killing it as usual. We know that Ted Kord is the big bad, the head of it. Well, I guess it depends on your viewpoint, but Ted Kord was the one responsible for the Suicide Squad. He wants to go public. He thinks that the revolutionaries who became that new Suicide Squad have gone rogue, so he wants to go public with it. So Deadshot, if we remember the last issue, he's like, I'm done. I finished my contract. There's proof that I'm free. I'm a free man. So he goes back home to see his daughter and his wife or girlfriend. He gets home, and the FBI shows up at his door and says, "You're not free to go. We're here to capture you." His name's plastered all over the news with the revolutionaries accompanying them. Like, these people are wanted and for capture. So he's out in the lawn. He just said like committed to saying like, I'm not going to kill anybody anymore. I'm going to only do good by my daughter. Well, his daughter was so proud of him that she created her own costume called Live Shot, and she uses a bow and arrow because she doesn't want people to die instead of Deadshot. It was like a really cool moment. But like, they're going to arrest him, and she like starts shooting at, like, she holds out an arrow, and they're like going to shoot her. So he's forced to like grab their gun and start shooting all the FBI agents. But he makes a point not to kill any of them because he's trying to like, okay, don't kill anyone anymore. I made a promise to my daughter. Really good issue. And then the revolutionaries show up because they went public. They know, oh, now Deadshot's in some deep shit. So next issue, they're going to take the fight to Ted Kord because they realize they can't be on the run anymore. He's gone public. Everybody's going to be coming after them. Really good issue. This Suicide Squad story is so good. It's like my favorite book right now. It's so good. But that's all I had this week. It's quite a few books, but especially because I had taking notes for an anthology book is it's a doozy, I tell you. But I have Sidekick 1 and 2 here from the Kickstarter, so I will be reading these for next week. But
yes, me as well.
Yep.
So first, I've got Rogue Planet number 3.
Oh, nice.
So in this we get this weird interaction with this alien race, and they grab the two humans and they like basically drug them.
Oh.
And like they go into this trance where they think like everything's going to be okay, everything's going to be fine, and then they slit their throats.
Oh. Okay.
So it's obvious this alien race has been worshiping this weird creature that's attacking them throughout the book.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of the majority of the story there. I mean, there is interaction between the other group that went out and interacted with that weird alien thing, and them talking and trying to get home and figuring out what they have to do next and kind of bickering inside themselves. But awesome issue. Rogue Planet's really great.
Yeah, I actually missed that one this week.
Darth Vader number 3. So it's been a while since Darth Vader came out, so I had to remind myself. But we have this woman that's traveling with Vader that used to be one of Padme's body doubles, and she's trying to figure out who killed Padme.
Mm.
And so they go back to the planet. This issue is tough because they go back to the planet from episode 2. I'm zoning on the name of the planet, but where Anakin has the infamous line, sand. I hate it because it gets everywhere.
Not Naboo, is it?
Yes, it's Naboo.
Yep.
And they go there and they go to that little castle thing that they were in, having that date, and look around. They meet up with 2 people from Naboo's royal forces, and they go find this security footage that is supposed to be the missing link to what happened to the princess. Mm-hmm. They get down there, and Vader plays it, and he realizes that he's been set up, that they think that he killed her, that he's the reason she's dead. And I mean, they're kind of right. And it ends there, where they're basically going to suicide themselves with this weird creature coming at them, and that's how they're going to kill Vader, is by killing all of them at once.
Makes sense.
It ends at that point, but it's been a really like fun Vader story, and we can see where it goes from there.
Cool.
And then we got 3 Empyre books. So Empyre number 3, it's basically showing where everybody is on Earth right now, what they're doing, how they're fighting the Katati, and how the Skrull and Kree are kind of coming into it. And then there's also the B story is the Hulkling up on his ship, trying to figure out how to be not only a hero but a leader to these 2 warring races. And we end up finding out that people inside his close circle aren't who they appear to be. Surprise, surprise.
Oh.
Empire's good. I like it because it's a Marvel event and it has to do with Kree and Skrulls, and it's been interesting enough. If you're not into that, I don't think you'll like it. I'll save this one for last. X-Men number 10, which is an Empyre tie-in. This is all about one of the X-Men up on the moon. They go to where the Katati are on the moon, and they end up basically destroying them all. And they tell them, like, you can do whatever you want with Earth, but stay away from Krakoa. Well, they end up accidentally leaving one of the Katati alive. And when the other Katati find his body, he dies immediately, but he mutters the same phrase over and over again, Krakoa, 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 Krakoa. And so the Katati are like, we need to go to this Krakoa and figure out what's going on. So
I think it's a place of interest.
Yes. And then the book that made me the most happy this week, Empyre, Captain America number 1.
Nice.
First of all, Philip Kennedy Johnson is creeping up to be a writer of note in my life. Like, the dude has written some good books. He's doing the Marvel Zombies right now. He's doing Last God. And now he's doing this quick 3-issue series. But this is Captain America how I like him. Like, he gets to Earth, he goes to Washington, he tries to let the army know, like, hey, this alien race is coming and we need to do something about it. Not only do we need to do something about it, we need to help everybody else. Because they don't want to just attack the United States, they want to wipe out the entire Earth. So he gets there, he gets some, blowback from it, but the main story here is he ends up meeting this squad of patrolmen who help him along. So it's kind of a Captain America and the Howling Commando story, where it's him and 4 other guys who are just everyday soldiers trying to do what's right. And they come up against one of these Katatis that's like super powerful. It's one of the leaders. I thought it was a really great story that emphasized what I love about Captain America in a realm that I like with him. And I was just really happy because it's like the first time in a while I've been excited about a Captain America book. And it's just a tie-in to a big event book. That's the weird part.
Awesome.
But my last thing was I read Pulp by Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips.
Nice. This
is the team that brought you Criminal, Kill or Be Killed, so on and so forth. This is a story about a dude who used to be a gunslinger, a cowboy who stole from stagecoaches, killed people, so on and so forth. He ends up growing up, and in the 30s, late 30s, early 40s, he finds himself to be a writer for these pulp magazines, writing stories about these cowboys who do these things. Yeah. Basically rewriting his own stories, and gets like roped into one big last heist that's meant. So an old friend of his, who was actually a guy who was trying to hunt him down back in the day, comes to him and says, we needed to go on one last heist and take out this cell of Nazis inside of New York City. Ended up not going the way they planned, but in the end, he gets revenge against the Nazis. It's a really great story that has great heart in it, great characters. It's a one-shot story. It's like 80 pages. If you like Brubaker Phillips, check it out. It's fantastic. I don't really know what else to say about it other than if you're not already on the Brubaker Phillips train, I don't know what's going to get you on it.
You're not already
and I had one more.
Oh.
One more. The Boys, Dear Becky, number 3.
Oh, nice.
So we get more of Huey and his fiance doing their thing, kind of setting the stage of what the world is post The Boys. And it's basically superheroes are outlawed. Like, they're not allowed anymore. People with powers are kind of shunned. And then there's that story in the background that's Butcher back in the day. And I don't really know where it's going and how it's connecting to his wife. Because it's about this group of what looks like Asgardians. And if anyone knows the Boys universe, they're not really Asgardians. But,
right.
And he's trying to get them to spill information about other superheroes. And it goes wrong, and in the end, it ends with him being confronted by them. But I'm really confused on what the story is and where it's going.
Oh, okay. Interesting, because I had high hopes for it, but
yeah, I'm gonna play it out. I think it's only 6 issues. So there's only 3 more to go. But I am super confused because really what it is at this point is just the ramblings of somebody who had a couple of ideas or thoughts he wanted to get out, and just figured why not do it with the series that's already proven.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, I'm kind of confused about it, but that's everything I had. Mike, where can people find you on the internet?
They can find me at Fortress Ricker on Twitter. Where can they find you and or the show?
You can find me at Fortress Chris on pretty much any social media platform. And you can find me at chrisrunt.com. Or you can find the show at fortresscomicnews.com. That's where everything we do is right there on the Handy Nitty website. Remember, everybody, you're listening to us, 5 stars on whatever podcatcher you use. If you are watching us, to comment down below, like the video, subscribe to the channel so you can keep seeing us. And if you want more extra goodies, including my other podcast, the Bat Friends podcast, 3 days early, go over to patreon.com/Fortress of Comic News. Thank you all so much for listening, and we will see you next week.
Goodbye.